We are live streaming. I think we're unmuted. I'm gonna change it so that the camera is static. It's my preference. Let me know if anyone feels it should be different.
That looks good.
Great, yeah, I find when it moves around that owl thing, it drives me crazy. Yeah, it often doesn't zoom in on the person. All right, want me to bring up the agenda to the screen? You can call us.
Sure.
If you'd like.
So it looked like Rose was trying to join a minute ago, but until she does, I think we can just get started and we can jump to anyone else who wants to comment, guests or anything like that later. So it looks like the first item was the draft website updates. I looked at that and I saw that there were a number of things people have added over the last couple of weeks. Have they gone live or? Like, is this the new content? Is that on the page?
No, this has not gone live.
Okay.
I didn't see any edits happen to this.
I still that.
Yeah. Am I thinking of something?
Well, no, I mean, just in terms of the new content, that's not on the page yet.
No.
Okay.
Right, and so just to review, the new content is here, and then below it says, oh, no?
I think eventually says what it currently is, right?
Yeah, I thought maybe someone has added this. Oh, I take it back. Okay, here's the old
Yeah.
content. Here's what's currently up there. And it does look like, maybe this is what Ella brought
I
last
think,
time?
yeah, I think a
Oh.
lot of it was what Ella had been talking about.
Thank you, Ella. Yes, I agree. So there is been content added to this. That's fabulous. Great. You all, if you think you have more edits, I would prefer to do it all at once.
Okay.
If you think that this is good for now and it might be a couple months, why don't I put this up?
Yeah.
So up to you guys what you want.
Sounds okay to me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can look at it one more cycle and then we can publish it in July if no one has anything else.
We can publish it whenever you guys want. I just don't wanna
Yeah, I understand you.
go back and forth. I've been a graphic designer, I've done that.
Yeah.
It's painful. That's that. Any other thoughts on that?
I don't think so. I mean, I understand people's ideas, to like make it more of a resource to go to, but at the same time, people can always just they have the whole internet to look at if they want to find resources related to the work going on here. I mean, I think this is really the repository for old, like, Complete Streets specifically related documents that you're not gonna find anywhere else, so.
Yeah, and you can link to other things, it can be a place to link to, there's an infinite resource of complete streets content. So it's really choosing which ones you want or linking to here, go find more.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly,
smart.
like linking more to resources than a bunch of specific articles or something like that.
Yeah. And then, I think very important is linking to the city's engage page for all the transportation projects.
Exactly.
Because I think it doesn't currently say that.
Oh, really? Okay, well, so yeah, so that's the sort of thing, and I feel like a lot of this stuff is people who aren't necessarily plugged in to everything going on. Like, there are definitely people who live here who are, and there are people who aren't, never been to engage things before, like, that's gonna be a great place to start. So we can almost maybe, I think we can all go take a look at it again, but like maybe even starting, something like, start here if you've never been involved with, infrastructure projects, or if you're new to the area or anything like that, engage Kingston, it's a place to start, and then kind of go from there or something like that.
It looks like Ella's got her hand up. I don't know if we can see it when we're sharing our screen, so, but Ella, I see your hand is up.
Hello. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Should I be raising my hand when I want to talk? Well, anyway, okay, great. Hi, everybody. So I just want to say, yeah, kind of what Paul was saying. I definitely see what you're saying, Paul, that there's a lot of stuff you can Google. I guess I was thinking more in terms of when I think someone, maybe Emily mentioned, it could also be part of an onboarding, something we do for onboarding. So if there's someone we want, someone new comes on and we want to just give them information so that maybe they're a little bit more informed, or maybe we're all on the same page or whatever. I was thinking more of that too, you know, things that people it might not necessarily occur to somebody to look for that.
Well, we can even have.
But I don't know if we want, I mean, that could be like a different, what's that?
We can have it be a separate section, sort of,
Yeah,
you know, like, I don't know, Complete Streets 101 or, you know, something along those lines.
yeah, I think that's a great idea, actually.
Okay.
So it sounds like we'll at least wait until next month, and so sort of keep it on the agenda.
Any more
Yeah,
information?
but I think otherwise, the site, everyone has bios on it now, right? And, no? Alright. No? Alright, well, I guess I guess we should at least make sure that the current, and you know, maybe there's you know, I don't want you to have to update it too often, but the list of vacancies, the number of vacancies. So if someone comes across the page and says, oh, there's, I mean, at this point, you have 3 vacancies or something, so.
I was gonna get to that
Okay.
in a moment.
Yeah.
I did change it so that Paul, you're now the chair, so I took John off, so I did a little bit of updating. And Bob's listed as liaison, but yeah, Gustavo, if you wanna send a bio and image, I would love to put it up.
And Claudette, if you can wrap a little something, it'd be great to have something.
Yeah, I'll think about it. I really okay, in terms of doing it, I mean, what are you looking for? Just general information? Yeah. And if there was an email, there's no personal phone numbers?
No.
Okay.
It's really just your work background, how you know, your knowledge, how you know so much about all this stuff.
Okay.
That's
Okay. Yeah, all right, okay.
Because I do think your experience is phenomenal, and it would be lovely to show that you bring that to the
All
table.
right, well, I'll put something together, or I know I had to do it in order to get on the committee, I guess.
Yeah.
But I said, okay. that's
Oh,
fine.
I don't, so with, right in, when you apply, people do submit that.
Yes.
Do you want me to go and get what's there? I don't remember what's there.
Yeah, that'd probably be easier, and then if there's something, the only couple of things that needed to be changed is I am the past chair of OrCal. I think at the time I applied,
Yeah.
or I was the chair of OrCal.
Why
But
don't I,
anyway, we'll take a look at it, okay.
great,
all
why
right.
don't I find that, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Do you want to bump the new member application until Ezra gets here?
Yeah,
That
that
was
makes
the
sense.
next thing on the agenda.
Yeah, so we'll bump that. Current, so that brings me to, one of you was just asking, I wanted to talk about, current membership terms, just as reviews, because it's sort of a good time. And also because a few things came up. So I was reviewing our current terms, and Paul and Elizabeth, your terms were up. So I resubmitted you to the mayor. The mayor's secretary is on vacation right now, so I haven't heard back yet, but it doesn't really matter. It's on.
Okay.
But just so you know, that, of course, that I always update this document whenever someone comes, and it just seems like a good time to review. So just for all of your information, there's currently 3 open seats. So that was Bob Dennison's seat, that was John Gospelin's seat, and that was Kristen Wilson, who then was filled by Rose. That was that seat that's open.
Okay.
Also, some of those open seats, almost all of the seats end at the same time, and 3 of them, Paul and Elizabeth, your seats end in May for some weird reason. So what I'm gonna propose is that it's about 50-50 every opposite years. So the open seats, I'm gonna shift that expiration term to be December 31st, 2025. And then and here, let me tell you that next year, who will need to be updated. So Brian will go off next year. Claudette, you will be at your 4th year.
Yeah.
So you will have to take at least a year off.
Yeah.
You're always welcome back, we love having you. So those are the 2 that will have to step down. So when that happens, I would like to shift the dates so that half of the board is December of one year and half of the board is December of the next year. So that you don't come across all of a sudden when everybody
Yeah,
does.
everyone, yeah.
But I'm not changing anyone's expiration date that's currently on the board.
Sure.
I'll just do it as people step on.
Yeah.
I actually also don't know if I have the power to do that. I'm asking the mayor's secretary, if that's possible.
So it's not when somebody joins, there's like a term for those.
Yeah, which is, I don't like that, I don't like that system, it's a admin pain in the butt. That's how, the law is, and that's how.
But honestly, at the same time, it makes sense because if you just left it up to whenever the person happened to join, then you could have a thing where people are all offloading at the same time and you have an empty complete
Exactly,
streets
exactly,
council.
Exactly.
So I think there's a, you know, a real word reason there.
So my term is up December 24th or December 25th?
You are up, December 31st, 24.
24, okay, that's
So,
fine. So
we'll
at
have-
the end of this year,
Yes,
okay,
and in January, you get your month off.
right.
You're free.
Wait, it's just 1 month or no, it's a whole year?
No, it's a whole, the way the bylaw, or the bylaws and the resolution read, you have to take 1 year off.
Right.
You're welcome to apply after that 1 year.
It seems like we have two vacancies, those have been out for a while. Do you think it makes sense if we review the bylaws to say you have to take a year or like at least a month off if that seat is still open within a month and you want to come back, you can reapply and we can consider you because, you know, if it happens, would it make sense to have like only 3 or 4 people?
Right. No, I mean, I kind of brought this up.
So
The bylaws are through the common council though, or set up, it's not, we don't do it.
So the talk about the year off, that's from the resolution. We
Yeah.
can't change that.
Alright.
We have to go back to common
But
council.
we can ask for it.
Oh, for sure. You guys can, and I think when we have a meeting later tonight about the resolutions, we may have a lot of things we want to ask for. So, I might suggest let's hold that, because if you want to change, but start collecting the things that you might want to change.
Yeah.
And then submit it all at once.
It just feel like we're almost handicapping ourselves that way, just like, you know, we have people who wanna be on here, like, why,
There's
why
other people
not,
that-
why, you know, why force them out when they might not even, you know, be a resource.
I think there's other boards and commissions where folks have been there for a long time and community members have wanted that forced off.
Fair
to
enough.
sort of, but for.
We don't seem to have that issue.
Exactly, for Complete Streets and Live Well, I'm always.
Yeah.
It's a constant trying to get people to join, so that we make it harder for them, does seem silly to me.
Probably because it's not seen as being as political. Whereas planning and zoning and things like that tend to be a bit more political.
Okay, so that was current membership terms, if there's any questions about that?
No, I think just everyone, you know, if you have ideas on this, just make note of them, because there's something that we might be able to revisit.
Absolutely.
Do you, so is it 4 years that we each get?
Yeah, okay,
4
so
years?
the resolution reads.
Okay.
Well, our bylaws, I'm almost certain.
I think it's 2 years, isn't it?
I believe
It's two-year terms.
Right.
Okay, the voting members
Two
shall
years.
serve. The voting members shall serve for 2-year terms, and vacancies shall be filled in the same manner as the original appointment, except that a vacancy occurring other than by an expiration term shall be filled by the remainder of the unexpired term, meaning I fill the seat, not what we were just talking about, right? Any person serving 4 consecutive terms, maybe I'm misspoken here, I'm glad we're reviewing. Any person serving 4 consecutive terms may, after a lapse of 1 year, be eligible for reappointment to the council.
Oh,
I stand corrected.
that's
Oh.
8 years.
Live Well is 2 terms. I was just assuming it was like Live Well. My apologies. Claudette, you know.
I can stay.
Of course, if you want.
As long as you want.
That's great.
You won't get rid of me that easily.
My apologies, y'all. So that means Claudette doesn't have to step off. Brian has indicated he'd like to step off, so let's anticipate that.
Because you have to find a new pedestrian advocate.
Yeah. Any other questions about that? My apologies, and I'm glad we made these rules of procedure, because here it is, and you all can go check that anytime and
Great.
correct me.
Okay.
Great,
Because I am bouncing 2 different commissions.
so 4 terms
Yeah,
of
that's
2-year terms.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in my second 2-year term.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, 8 years, that's a long time.
Yeah, it is. It's like a presidency.
All right, great.
Okay.
It's good.
Do you mind if I move on to the next one, unless there's other questions?
No.
I put on here agenda, meeting and notes. This is the second month that we're doing the agenda and notes on the Google Doc. Hey, Elizabeth, I think you're busy, but if you're able to take notes, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I probably won't be able to today, but as soon as, yeah, we'll try next time. I'm so sorry. I didn't know she was going on leave when I volunteered to do this. Otherwise, I wouldn't have volunteered. I'm so sorry.
No problem. I appreciate you trying.
There's also the AI possibility.
Maybe we look into that.
Yeah, I can, John Olson, who's come to a couple meetings,
Yeah.
I remember he took one of the recordings and like plugged it into one of those and the notes were impressive, so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're evolving so fast with that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. I can ask him what he had used that time when he showed it to me
And that's what I need probably is the name of the app, so I can see if I have access.
sure.
But what I wanted to come to is, so I really think my personal opinion, I really liked how we sort of built the agenda this time. I saw that people added it.
No, it is great.
It was a little confusing to me though, maybe Ella, that was you, someone put in Bike Ped Master Plan, and we didn't know who put it there or what it was, what the topic about it was. So my request to you all is if you add something to the agenda, just add like your first initial and last name, so we know who will be speaking to it at the
And
meeting.
also, I mean, you've done this a lot too, just maybe even a link or something, if there's something to refer to, you know, like whatever it is, yeah.
I love the
The
links.
more info,
Yeah.
better.
I don't know about you all, but like when I participate, I want to come to the meeting knowing what it's gonna be, like,
Yeah.
I like to be able to be like, oh, this is the document that they're talking about.
Right.
So I highly recommend.
And we can always, even if there's a document you wanna refer to, you can just upload it to the Google Drive and then link to that, so we all have access to it. So it's that interaction is, I think, yeah, really useful and important.
Cool, that's it for me.
All right, so I think we're gonna move on to old business then.
And I'll share my screen again, so folks at home can see we're on old business.
Yeah, so there's some discussion about Merlina Ave, the last couple of weeks, but I don't know if there is anything that anyone wanted to add, on what's been going on with that. Is there any update from the city or anything? Okay, then,
None from me, I don't know
Yeah.
any new updates.
like I mentioned to Emily, possibly reaching out to the woman who came here that time with her daughter to see if she might want to join Complete Streets, you know, if someone who's obviously interested from the community. But aside from that, I don't really have any more thoughts on Merlina Ave. So I think we can just move on from that. Maybe take it off, you know, I guess, going forward until someone else brings something to our attention.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's just one of the many sort of areas of sort of constituent interest, I suppose, but yeah, until something else comes up.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so yeah, the sidewalk task force, obviously, we presented, or not really presented, but we've sent that to the head of the common council.
President Chow.
President Chow, and my thought was to possibly invite her to a meeting to sort of, I just don't want this to disappear. Because we did a lot of work on that. So I'm not sure how receptive she is to that sort of invitation, generally speaking, I never met her. But possibly using Bob as a liaison, we could see if she'd be interested in coming to meet with us, to review it, maybe with her, so she understands what our thoughts were, all the work that went into it, and I just, it just so it doesn't stall. And what our expectations are from her and the common council.
So I didn't get a response. I don't think anyone else did, but it's possible that that doesn't mean it stalled. So when I submit a budget transfer, for example, to the common council, I'll hear nothing back for about a month until I'm told that to show up at the finance committee meeting. So it's possible that it now, when you first send something to be added to the common council, At the first common council meeting, it gets sent to a subcommittee. Then it goes to the subcommittee, and the subcommittee votes on it, and then goes to the big common council meeting to be voted on, right? So it adds in a month plus in a process.
But can we, as the chef, doesn't have to come to our meeting for this, but can we request an update
Sure.
and see, do we know what subcommittee may?
That it was going to, yeah, that was what I was gonna
I
ask.
think we were unsure what
Yeah.
subcommittee was.
We don't know what subcommittee it's going to, and I don't think it's a bad idea to invite, ask her, I believe it's a her,
Yes.
to come for a presentation, because you have a good point. If we don't keep it in front of them, it will go to the places where a lot of other
Right.
reports go to.
And also, there's a lot to digest, so
So,
if you
yeah,
just
yeah, it's
dump
a
that.
lot, and I do think it would just keep the level of importance. There may be some pushback, but I don't think that it's a bad idea for us to invite, to try to make sure that they understand what our point of view was, and why we put it together and why we feel it's important.
Would it make sense also, instead of asking them to come here, see if we can get an invitation to that subcommittee?
It depends on how it goes. Either way, it could work, and could be both.
Okay,
I've seen both, where it's like you make the presentation and you also make a presentation in front of the subcommittee if they want, if that's what they want.
I think it would be unusual if President Shout came here. I could see President Shout saying, hey, Bob, you're the liaison. Please meet with Complete Streets and bring it to the Common Council. I suspect that that's how the process would go.
Okay.
But it feels clear to me, definitely what we can do is ask for an update. Hey, just want to make sure you saw that last month. Is it making its way through the committees? What can we expect? Something like that.
perfect.
But it wouldn't be wrong to invite her and she designates Bob.
Sure.
You know, I don't think it would be proper form for us to invite Bob without going through her. She's the chair of the council, right?
But Bob's kind of always invited to
Yeah.
this, so.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like, oh, send Bob. The protocol would be,
Yeah.
you would go to the head of the common council, I would believe, and in most places I've been, and then that person
they
can
decide.
hand it
Oh,
off.
valid, that's true, I see what you're
Right.
saying.
That they would hand it off, it would
Yeah.
be like, you know, the city manager or the mayor saying, okay, that's lovely, you have something, but send it to the public works
Yeah.
director. And she will go in my, you know,
Yeah.
on my behalf.
No, I
That's
understand
all.
what you're saying. Great, so I'll email President Shout, ask for an update,
Mhm.
and say the Complete Streets Advisory Council would like to have you or another common council representative come
Or
to the
designate,
meeting,
yeah.
or would like to be invited to a common council
Yeah.
committee.
I mean, frankly, if she then designates Bob, I think we kind of skip that step. We don't need to present to Bob. I mean, I don't think.
But he might bring back the questions that they had. that-
Okay, in that case, sure, then we can, it'll almost be more of a discussion, because he
Right,
can just
right.
bring them in.
Yeah.
I mean, he's well versed, I think.
Yeah.
I have a little more to update about that. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Tonight is a finance committee meeting. The city of Kingston is putting together the package of consolidated funding grant applications that are coming up, of which I have volunteered to do an application for a sidewalk improvement financing plan.
Oh,
Meaning, if the common council decides to move forward and asks the mayor to do a plan, he would have to allocate funds for it, right? And the common council would approve that. I'm suggesting that we apply for grant funding to do it. It's the same grant for funding source that the pedestrian and bicycle master plan was done with. And so if we don't get that grant, the mayor or common council will have to decide if or how they want to fund that plan. But I sort of see I think the mayor agrees and that we're moving forward with that application, and you'll see that in our grants update in just a moment. But just to let you know, tonight at the finance committee meeting, we are asking the common council to provide resolutions of support for all of those applications. And it's likely that they'll see, oh, what's the sidewalk plan? So it's possible tonight I may get an opportunity to
Right,
say,
right.
President Shout, the Completion Advisory Council that sent you this,
Yep.
what's the update?
Okay.
So I might know more tonight, by the way.
and how much is the grant going to be for?
I don't remember, I was shooting low, I think it got up to like 150,000.
Okay,
But
okay.
don't quote me on that.
no,
It's-
but it would
it's
be
somewhere-
enough to make
Yeah.
it seem like it was gonna go, okay.
Yeah, it was not 25,000.
Thank you, that's what I was wondering, sorry. If it's $15,000 or $25,000,
Yeah.
we're not, that's not gonna get us very far, yes, okay.
But I don't have that number.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
All right, well, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I guess we'll move on to, the e-bike resolution. So that's moving along as well.
I don't have any updates on that.
Okay,
The last I saw was an email from Bob saying that he was bringing it, if I recall.
Right.
And Tanya has emailed us, but I don't know the update.
okay.
We could ask Bob for an update.
But it seems that it's this month that it's gonna go into laws and rules, so.
That's what Tanya said last month, that it's
Uh,
going this month. But I don't know if that is in fact what happened or what the update is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. I don't think we need Bob to update on that unless anyone's particularly interested in it. I do feel like it's been
Be what it is.
relatively, stable. So the grant applications, that's fine. Is there anything else you want to add related to that?
Let's see, so yeah, I don't know if there's anything, I just want to draw your attention, draw everyone's attention to that document. I've been asking Ruthina to create it, I think this is going, it's a nice process that we've got. So just to draw attention to, there's the current projects at the top, completed projects in the middle, the new grant awards. So let's see.
Zoom in a little bit.
Zoom in? Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Oh, let's see, can I move it? That might be as best I can do.
No, that's fine.
So the new grant awards, that's that, raise grant, I believe. That's not quite started yet. This is the Flatbush and Foxhall project that, Schumer had the, press conference on.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Wait, sorry, what's this? The section in red is pending. Okay.
pending and upcoming applications.
And this is updated how often?
I've been asking this from her monthly, I don't know if this has changed from last month, I don't have the two in front of me.
Okay.
Here's what the consolidated funding applications that I was just mentioning, so. I'm not sure what ESD is, but there's ESD strategic planning and feasibility program for citywide parking study, that's in Complete Streets World, that's good to know about.
Is it Empire State something?
It might be. Yeah,
The parking is just for general parking, paid parking,
probably overall parking, how much parking we have.
okay,
How much is being used, I don't know, but I would guess something like that.
okay.
Then the climate smart for sidewalk study, that's the one I'm working on. Safe Streets for All, looks like it says will not apply because Ulster County is including Kingston data in the update for their plan, which they are applying for this program. So that was the Safe Streets for All, that was the one that sort of caused us to start to have this grant report. I believe Tanya was asking for updates on it, and we wanted to just try to have a system for clarifying what we were applying for. and what we're not.
So this is available on Engage Kingston or?
This is just on our agenda, this is made just for the Complete Streets Advisory.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. I mean,
She does a quarterly grants report, which
mhm.
is updated on Engage Kingston.
Okay.
Anyone can go there anytime, but this is just a report that I'm asking her to do for the streets, and it's just transportation projects.
Right. I mean, it is pretty great to have access to this. I wonder if it could also be published along with.
Well, it's.
It is, it's just more distilled.
This is just, yeah, exactly, just sort of like
Exactly.
easier to understand, so I've based.
It's more timely, so I'm asking for more timely reports for y'all.
Right, right,
But the public and the common council get them quarterly.
okay.
Is there a concern if this is the agenda is public?
Or did you?
No, I've asked Ruth Ann, but no, this is, like, people quit foil for this thing. So that's it, I didn't mean to,
No, I mean, I know
just
you,
review it a little bit.
yeah, I know you've shown us it before, but it is just really useful to have something like that, just kind of distilled down into just. Yeah. Should we move on to E then? All right, Ella, are you available too?
Yes.
Okay, great, yeah, so Ella and I had a meeting, what was that, last week? I guess. Maybe it
That was
last
like,
week.
I feel like that was forever. Was that last week? No.
Maybe it was 2 weeks ago, but, basically, can you pull up the? We met and just kind of discussed the possibility of doing some tactical urbanism, around the city. Basically, just at this meeting, just discussing, kind of problem hotspots where something like this, and when I say like this, there's sort of a lot of things you can be doing in these spots, but just sort of ideas where some project could be implemented. And we were just kind of just, throwing out ideas and, no wrong ideas or whatever, that kind of thing. But yeah, we just picked up some kind of problem areas. Obviously I live downtown, so my kind of focus is midtown, downtown. Yeah, I mean, anything's up for discussion or debate when it comes to this kind of stuff. So the thought was, pick some problem areas and then kind of think about what some possible solutions would be, and then kind of come around to how you might implement that. And this was our first meeting, obviously, so there wasn't, we were just kind of starting out, and it was just the two of us, so it was just kind of, thinking about I guess sort of pet projects or whatever like that, But yeah, we've always been discussing this idea, and we've seen some implementation around the city, basically kind of private citizen kind of stuff, I mean. But this would obviously be coming from more of an official city kind of angle. Yeah, so I mean, as you can see, just mostly it's sort of the thing about daylighting, which is sort of a hot term, it's used a lot, but using planters and stuff just to make sure that people don't take turns too sharp and that sort of thing. Obviously the city is very fond of painting out curb cuts, kind of instead of doing curb cuts. But if you add things like planters and other sort of mobile solutions, they're also not going to be very costly, but can be just as effective, and maybe obviously more effective, hopefully, than just paint on the street. And is there anything else you wanted to add, Ella?
That pretty much mostly sums it up. I think we were kind of talking about, I think originally I was like, oh, we could kind of do somehow DIY this and have the city sanction it. But my thinking is now more in terms of, I think we could just kind of, make recommendations that the engineer would, actually carry out, or something, so we wouldn't be the ones doing it exactly, but we could just be part of the process of getting that rolling, kind of thing. I don't know if is that kind of accurate, Paul, you think?
I believe, yeah, that's basically the thinking. I don't think that we can do it guerrilla style. There's a sort of guerrilla tactical urbanism where people do it. Exactly. I don't want to sort of go down that lane because we're supposed to be advising the mayor on ideas, not implementing stuff. Whoever put that sign up, the stop sign or whatever, that sort of stuff.
I just saw recently that, I don't remember the name of the organization, LGBTQ, they're in uptown, they're like painting, like striping the sidewalk with a rainbow.
I mean, even
That's a
downtown.
great example of like tactical urbanism
Right,
that.
because people pay attention
People
to,
are
you
doing.
know, even downtown, we do it for the Shamrock Run, they come and paint, and the Italians do it for the Italian festival, like everyone's always on the sidewalks. So my question is that stuff even sanctioned by the city, or are they just doing it?
Sometimes it is.
Yeah,
But the daylighting and putting bollards in the streets with planters, the only problem you're gonna have with that is who's gonna maintain them. Because once they become overgrown and unsightly, most parks departments don't want them.
I'm happy to do that myself.
So there's more problems, so I don't know if Paul and Ella, you saw this, I just added a comment today, so you might not saw it. I today got guidance that, there it is, that if anyone is placing an item in the city's right of way, so streetscape and sidewalk, it would require a permit from the Department of Public Works.
So question,
Which
Which would be hard to get.
I don't know what the answer will be,
yeah,
and I can think of planters that are out there right now.
I was
that
about to
haven't
say,
been taken away, but my gut tells me that they're gonna be quick to say no,
sure,
but
Unless they're included in the discussion. One of the problems as a former public works person, a lot of times, public works isn't consulted. They're told. And old school public works, they immediately just go, no.
is there any other kind of public?
Yes, there is. I did not run an old school public works. 3 of them. But, and I also had, I have to admit, I had, citizenry who was also looking forward to daylighting and things like that. So there was a bit of, okay, the public wants it, how are we gonna make it work? And telling my crew and my staff, we gotta do this, okay? So if you ask them, at least ask. There are some things you can do, but when it comes to things that grow, Public Works usually doesn't want to be bothered with that. They usually tell you that's the Parks Department. So you really have to think about what it is that you're putting there. Is it gonna be there in the winter, in the city with snow plows? Okay. They're gonna crack, they're gonna break. I think it's a good idea, but I think you need to try and work with them, invite them to the table. If they don't come, but keep inviting them, because you will find someone who'll say, okay, look, the Public Works Department in this city managed to do it, how come you can't?
Right, no, I agree, that's a great way to think about it, because you wanna have them with you. You
Yes.
don't wanna be antagonized.
Exactly. You want to have them with you.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, for instance, Graziano's, the restaurant on Broadway downtown, he has a little sort of pop-up garden thing in front of his restaurant in between parking spaces, basically, and when I see it, I think how that's almost like that parking space mobile garden day. And you just it's on wheels, I think. He just puts it out every day and it's just sort of like a nice little thing to have in front of his restaurant. And so I do think that there are people sort of doing these things, like whether or not he has a permit for that or whatever, I don't know, but
the seating, like a rough draft, that's permitted.
Right.
They have bought those parking spaces.
yeah, I mean, the same thing you see, like Savona's has a little thing in their window being like, we allowed all these
For sure.
tables and chairs out,
Yes.
so all that stuff's allowed, But yeah, no, I mean, obviously we can't go around putting things in the street without, because obviously there's safety concerns, like what if someone hits it with their car? And
Exactly.
we can't do anything like that.
Exactly.
But I think our hope is to at least sort of, even beyond starting the discussion, like we wanna be able to someday be able to do, or at least sort of have a sheet of ideas and say, we'd love to see these things. Could we bring someone from Public Works to the next meeting and we can discuss the possibility of some of these?
May I bring up something? I don't mean to derail the tactical urbanism committee, I'm just gonna offer one thought. AARP does these walk audit toolkits. If the Complete Streets Advisory Council went to different locations and did a nationally recognized audit of those places and sort of had a library of this is what we see is wrong at this intersection, you might not be coming up with the suggested remediation, but just documenting how bad a location is could be a
Yeah.
great first step.
No, my wife had she held basically it's kind of like a writing conference at Barnfox Uptown. And there was an older woman who I think used a cane and she was like, it's ridiculous walking around here.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's a great idea. Just having that to be like, look, we've done this, and this is the AARP,
Exactly.
nation renowned, organization.
The other thing, at least in terms of public works, the APWA, the American Public Works Association, most of them, and I haven't been active in a while, but when I was active, they do encourage public works departments to be involved with. Because many public works departments do have transportation, engineering, and all the things that are maybe sometimes are separate. To do the beautification, the swales, all of that, they do. So there are ways to do it, it's just getting your particular department to
Right.
see that it's not working against them.
Right.
They are technically invited to this meeting.
I know,
But I think like once we go through the list of ideas, maybe we can bring them over and say, hey.
Yeah.
like,
Well, I
how
liked
is
it, I liked the idea of doing, sorry.
Yeah, no, and the other thing that I was gonna say, that to me, ideally, tactical urbanism is something that is flexible compared to a big project.
Right.
So I think we should also work with engineering and say, hey, we're doing Foxhole. How about we put some cones on this? If you want to try a bike lane, we do it for a month and we see if it increases traffic, right? Like, I think like that's the type of things that we should be doing, but so far I think like Tanya has shared a couple of emails, like we don't even know what that plan is. So I feel like if we get engineer ideally, like more involved, we can see the plans and work with them and suggest like these type of things that we can try improvement even before the project is started. And then once we do the project, we know that it's gonna be a good solution. I feel like that would be my ideal scenario. I don't know how to make that happen, but.
I may respond, but I support coming up with a better process 100%, yes. In my experience with the City of Kingston projects, the funding often doesn't allow there to be that repetitive process. So in my experience, I'm not a city engineer, but when I saw, let's see, like Henry Street or Franklin Street, my impression is that the process for the transportation projects, the way the funding works, it didn't allow time for there to be like a temporary project, collect that feedback.
Right.
But we could invite John to come and talk about that process more. I always recommend asking questions. So John, what is the current process? What is the lifespan of a transportation project? How do we build in that it's not repetitive, but there's a name for it, that process where you test something out, you get feedback, you test it out, you get feedback.
Iterate.
So,
process.
The evaluation, but regenerative or
Iterate.
There is a specific.
iterative.
But it's basically what we do with the bike ped count, like it's that sort of stuff. I mean, if you could do it with volunteers or something, so it wasn't expensive, I don't know. I don't know
Well,
what the solution.
with the volunteers or the support of your AARP audit, I mean, that's basically it. So you go and you see what deficiencies there might be. And then you might also say, well, perhaps if this was a suggested improvement, it might, but you have some kind of basis for why you're suggesting that particular improvement.
If we created a library of assessments, I would tack that on to the bike ped master plan. So anytime the city were to do a project, we could, create an official policy that says you have to review these assessments to make that decision about what project you're gonna do next. Or when the consultant is hired, you say, here, we've already done,
These are our concerns and whatever.
Here's the advocacies for
Right,
concerns, and that's part of the public outreach is already done for them, I
Right.
love that.
So this AARP audit is there like training you're supposed to do before you do it, or you basically just jump right in with a check sheet, or like what exactly?
I suggest you all dig a little bit into this.
Sure.
My colleague Marcia has done it, she did an audit, from People's Place. I believe that
For their
it's,
immediate area, like around?
she went for a walk around People's Place with a few other people, and they sort of went through the paperwork and tried to do an audit. I don't know that it ever got sort of finished, but she was sort of inspired by that. So I don't know if it was sort of officially done. My understanding is that it's a little bit like here, go to the worksheet collection. You know, I've got them in printed form, you can ask for the booklet, and then they have all the tools that you will do. I'm sure that there are webinars that give you best recommendations. I've been to conferences that talk about them, and they talk about, yeah, you get a group of people with all different
Like
abilities.
even for trails, like you could do the Midtown Near Path.
Absolutely. And then you all walk it together, you invite the engineer, you invite the mayor, sometimes they come, sometimes they don't, but then you fill out the sheet that says, you know, so this has lots of resources here.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Please
really
take a look
something.
at it.
Does- I didn't know AARP did this.
Neither
kind
did
of
I.
stuff.
It's like, well, that's just.
By the way, ARP is a badass organization, by the way.
Well,
They
now, I
have
mean, they're.
booklets
more
on almost
there's a
any
paper.
topic you guys would be interested in.
So they do more than selling
They
shit.
talk about ADUs, they talk about community gardens, they talk about
Land
parks
use
and
and
public
zoning?
spaces. Yes, they are kind of a big deal, and they get grants, by the way. So, Complete Streets, if you wanted to start to build a
Here's
project,
what-
come on in. You could also
Yeah, not
actually
taking it
apply
there.
for a grant.
Okay.
Will you share?
There's
those
a,
links?
Sure, I'll put this link in the.
Yes.
Okay.
One last question before moving on. Is there a way to know, like, the upcoming projects that engineer might tackle soon? Because I feel like if that's true, like, I'll be happy to, I feel like we should focus the ARP review into those projects and trying to have that priority for those first. I don't know if there's anything beyond, Clinton Avenue or Foxhole.
Right, so I think mostly our transportation projects are all grant-based.
Right.
So that's why that grant report that I'm doing, I think is important. So I know, for example, that we've applied to do Quarry and the one to the Kingston Plaza,
Is it Westport?
Westbrook. So I believe that we have not heard a response to that yet. If we don't get the grant, it's probably not gonna happen.
Yeah, but it's good to know, right? Like
Yeah.
we could start the ARP with Westbrook, it's like a short street, that's a problem. So it's gonna
I mean,
be-
Westbrook, would be a phenomenal one
Yes.
to do.
Well, plus just having, it's basically we'll have the library of it, so that maybe next time around we apply for Westbrook again, and we're like, oh, well, now we have this, you know.
Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that's great for our grant applications, like our Complete Streets Advisory Council went out and assessed this, that's one of the reasons we're prioritizing, that really helps.
Yeah.
So, I feel like we're sort of starting to put some of the pieces together here a little bit, so even if I'm not here, I'm not going anywhere, but you can keep asking the grants department for that report and follow what grants are coming up. My understanding really is that other than paving, which is a different funding source, transportation projects are only kind of grant funded. We don't fund them another way.
They're not coming out of the general operating
Exactly.
fund.
They're too
And there's
expensive.
and there's no separate capital fund for it, so yes, unless you're getting grant money from either the feds or the state or whatever, you're right. It's not happening, unless your city is in the position where they are going to designate money from their operating major budget, which usually does, well, it can happen. And I've been when it's happened, but it's hard, it's very hard. If you have an extra $1 million, you usually don't want to give it to roads, you usually end up giving it to police and fire or schools or something else that's a lot sexier.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important to have the right solution, which has always been my issue. We do a lot of projects and then like it could have been a little bit better, probably the same amount of price of money invested in it. So if we do these tactical mechanisms on those projects before they happen, we, might have like a better end result.
Oh yeah, I also wanted to say, I think that's the whole thing about tactical urbanism is like we could do, like, the materials can be almost things we already have, like, cones or whatever materials we already have. So it would really, I mean, unless I'm missing something, it would really just cost the engineer who we're already paying and using materials we already have. It doesn't necessarily have to cost money, or it could be a very small amount of money.
Right, I mean, I think a big part of it is saving money. And or at least sort of before you spend the big money, you can confirm that what you think will work.
Yep.
All right, do we have another meeting scheduled, Ella, for this? I don't think we do.
For the tactical urbanism? No, I think I kind of was trying to schedule something, and I didn't hear back. Actually, Paul, to be honest, Paul, you're the only person who got back to me about scheduling it. So, but I'd be happy to have another meeting about it.
Yeah, we can regroup. I think maybe if anyone's interested, meeting sort of outside the case of these meetings,
Yeah.
to kind of keep the ball rolling with this, and possibly even meeting up to do, an AARP audit walk or something like that. I saw that it says like solo walks or group walks, and it's kind of a fun little bonding experience.
I'd be really interested in helping with that.
Yeah, and I'd be curious to find out exactly what the mechanism is, and how they do it.
The framework. So, Ella, you may bring I'm gonna just put a note, say you may bring the subcommittee together again.
It was a little hard to hear you. You said, I'll send out something about getting together again for tactical urbanism.
Great.
All right, should we move on to Complete Streets Evaluation Subcommittee and then kind of circle back to talking to our prospective member? So like finish out the old business and then.
And this is super fast. I'm just wanted to sort of have it show in the notes that the Complete Streets Evaluation Subcommittee is meeting after this meeting. We're going to review the resolutions for the Complete Streets Advisory Council, and I think that we're going to find that it doesn't score well. So I think it'll be very interesting. And then next month, why don't we report on what we find?
Okay.
That's all I have.
And then in terms of actually updating the policy, that will have to go to the Common Council. Is that
So that's
sort of way that would work if we determine that it's sort of failing or?
Yeah, my hope is that we all recognize the potential for improvement today. Then we, as part of our Creating Healthy Schools and Communities grant, our other grantees have other templates that have been offered. So I think we would, again, I would suggest we meet as a subcommittee to review that template and see if that's what we want. And then at some point, sort of like we would do with any other project, we would make edits to it and then eventually send it to the Common Council for consideration. That could be a long process though.
Right, okay.
So step by step.
All right. So now we're gonna go back up to B, new member application. So I've invited Ezra, our new member applicant to come to the meeting. I'm not sure what we've done in the past, if there's been sort of introductions or maybe we go around the room and introduce ourselves first. I'm happy to start. My name is Paul Stankus. I'm the chair of Complete Streets. I've been on now, I think, for 2 years then, right? Because it's coming up for my term to be renewed, so. This is my first meeting as chair, so I'm not a. It's a new role for me, but
You want to offer pronouns?
he, him, and I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to welcome you. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to apply. I appreciate that.
Hi, my name is Gustavo Salve. I've been here for over a year. Pronounce he, him. I live in Midtown. I'm originally from Venezuela, but we've been living in Brooklyn for like 10 years. moving here, and we picked Kingston because it looked very walkable, but once you come here and start going through it, it's like, not really. And I've been seeing the projects happening in the city, and it's like I said, like 5 minutes ago, it's like they're great, but they could be a little bit better. And I mostly read about urbanism and complete streets, so I don't have any background in it, but I think just by reading you can get a sense of how to improve. That's what here.
I'm Emily Flynn, I'm the Director of Health and Wellness for the City of Kingston. I'm not a voting member on the staff liaison for this group. Use she, her pronouns. I do a lot of other work, which I'm happy to tell you about another time. But the way that it is important here is that I run a health commission called Live Well Kingston, of which there's a subcommittee called Travel Well. And so that work is mostly I coordinate, and that's encouraging basically walking and biking in the city of Kingston. So there's a number of projects that I do as a part of that work that overlaps with community streets. Do you want to go, or do you want us to go to?
It's up to you. How you want?
What's that called?
You want me to go?
Do you want the people on the screen to go next?
Oh, I'm happy to have Claudia go first.
Hi, I'm Claudia Ford. My pronouns are she and her. I am legally blind and vision impaired, so it looks like I'm not necessarily looking at you, perhaps I am. Yes. Or I have a cane, but I usually don't use it when I'm sitting. I have been a public works director in a number of cities. I was also here in Kingston, the chair of the Resource Center for Accessible Living, ARCAL, for independent living. And my primary concern here is safe streets for people with disabilities, and to make the city walkable. Because it really isn't. If you have any kind of baby carriage, cane, it just isn't. It just
Absolutely. Yeah. Ella, do you want to go next? Introduce yourself.
Yes, hi, this is Ella. Hi, Ezra. I think I've met you many times actually at this point. So thanks for applying. It's great to see you again. Yes. So I'm Ella, and I either she or they is good for me. And yeah, I guess it's been like maybe a year and a half I've been on. I think it was maybe the winter before this past winter. So anyway, I've been on for a little while, and yeah, I guess I don't know what else to say really, but that's all. Okay, thank you.
And Elizabeth may or may not be able to.
Yeah, I'm actually, I've been listening. So hi, Ezra. My name is, it sometimes shows as EJ, but Elizabeth. And I moved to Kingston in, oh Lord, now, when was it? March of 21, bought my first house. And the street that I moved to was part of a project of revamping. It was one of the first complete street projects. And they were going to not replace the bluestone on my block. So I got together a group of residents and other concerned citizens and got the city to change their mind. So that was how I kind of got involved in the whole streets issues, and found out about this committee and joined. And I pretty much represent the residents and kind of the, man on the street view.
I should introduce myself then? Okay. I'm Ezra. Either he, him, and they, them are both fine. So I've lived in Kingston for I think about 16 years, like altogether. I've moved around a lot, but generally like within Ulster County. So I grew up in a household where like we never really had a car. So it's always been walkability and bikeability and stuff like that. Public transit, it's just always been one of those things that I'm very aware of it being underfunded and underutilized. And so I maybe about three years ago or so, 2 years ago, I have an autoimmune disease that started developing to the point that like walking became very difficult. I have to use a cane, and so I was relying on the bus. But with the fact that I live down Summer Street, it's a good mile-and-a-half walk to the Kingston Plaza, which is where the bus stop is, to get me to Ulster, which is where all the food is, and the employment opportunities. So that was kind of the thing that first got me more, I guess, politically involved in urbanism, and interested in making a difference to change things. I had started about 2 years ago. I decided to try seeing if I could still ride a bike, and I can. So I've been biking exclusively, my fiance and I both, for about 2 years now. So I've gotten the public transit experience here, the walking experience in Kingston, and now the biking experience. And I guess all of those things combined just very much galvanized me to be like, okay, we need to change something, because this is not working for anyone with any, mobility issues, or people who are just impoverished like I was when I was a kid, or people who just don't want to drive for, any number of reasons. So that's why I applied, and yeah.
Great, thank you so much. All right, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, if you so desire. I think after the meeting, we will then vote on your application, but you'll have to leave. It'll be a closed session, but like I said, you're more than welcome. We're moving on to new business now, just so you're aware.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great. Thanks, everyone. So the first item is the hiring of that engineer, filling that position, and it looks like it has been filled.
I learned that
Yeah.
today. It's
No, that's great.
That's great.
That's because basically, and Ella, sorry, I don't want to cut you off if you want to talk about this, but I think a big concern of ours, and I think Brian had chimed in, that it's hard to fill these positions. So the fact that it's now been filled is it's good news.
Do we know the person's background?
I don't know any other details.
Was this the great position?
We had 2 Gregs at one point. I think, yeah,
Okay, whichever career, but,
yeah,
okay.
it's an engineering aid, if I
Yeah,
recall.
right.
Ella, did you want to say anything else about this?
No, this is great. I just saw when I looked at the when I was looking, I was like, oh wow, the position's been filled. So that's great, because it was kind of like, I felt like some other things that were on the agenda were kind of sort of hinging on there being someone who could actually do those things. So and the other thing I just had also been thinking was, if before I realized that they had hired someone, was that another possible thing that maybe could still happen potentially, or at some point down the road, is just having a second engineer who just focuses on transportation. And so that's a thought that I had. But since the position's been filled, maybe not the right time to put that forward, but just something to think about for the future.
Well, I think it's great news, because one of our concerns was that John didn't have time to always address whatever other issue we might raise, or hopefully this will just sort of shift some of the weight of the work away from only him.
I mean, I think he has so much work that this will help, but there's so much work to do. I don't want to get your hopes up.
Okay.
I just,
Either for a third engineer.
It's all about funding. It's all about what's in this budget.
So, but we don't have like an open position.
Not if they filled this one. Then
Okay.
I believe all the positions are open.
But it's my understanding that the city of Kingston doesn't have a separate Department of Transportation.
No,
No,
we have
so,
engineering, and technically DPW is in charge of the roads.
right, so if there was a separate Department of Transportation which took the roads and the transportation planning and stuff like that, and gave it to a person who was a traffic engineer, transportation engineer, that then you would get that other engineer. Under the current system, the way it's laid out, he's the chief engineer for the city, and he's over anything that looks like it's an engineering project.
Would it make sense to send a letter to the common council, see if we can create or suggest the creation of that department?
And that person would cost you about, today's market, easily $200,000 a year, so seriously.
But
I mean, we could at
I
least.
will say, and I think I can say this sort of publicly, but every year during the budget season, there is meetings where anyone from the community can go in and give input on the budget. I am shocked at how many people participate. That's what comfortable saying.
When does that meeting happen?
I would.
But
Hmm?
Emily, how much is that advertised that they can go and put forth something?
I can't touch that, I'm not in charge of it, I can't.
I know.
So-
I'm being the devil's advocate.
What I can say is that you can tune into the budget season, there's always press releases. The mayor always does a huge presentation on the budget, and then it goes to common council, and they have many committee meetings, of which my department, I have to go and defend my budget. So there's opportunities there, and then at the common council meeting, when they are considering passing the vote, I'm always surprised that there's only a couple of speakers.
So when you get ready to defend your budget as one of your subcommittees, can we also piggyback at that time, or do you suggest an open, a public, there's a name for it, public forum, where, you know, you come in and you say, okay, this is why we think you need a person, you need to have a Department of Transportation that would address the following things. And maybe it's a reorganization of engineering and public works that puts all the stuff together and does it.
Are you asking which meeting?
You know, which would be the better, mechanism to come and present that as a part of your defending your budget, of which I am assuming we are part of, or us just coming separately?
I'm not sure what I don't know if I can tell you how to do it.
Okay, all right, no, okay, all right, I hear what you're saying.
Let me say, you all, the Completion Advisory Council can write letters to the mayor, to the common council. You all individually can talk to your alder people. You all can do comments at the common council meetings. The committee meetings, by the way, the finance committee meetings do not have a public speaking opportunity. You are always welcome to come and watch any of those. You can watch them on the live stream. You can always write letters to Lisa, the city clerk, to have those public comments be recorded, and you don't have to go to the meeting to have your comments recorded. So there's opportunities there. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I guess
I have
the
a
next-
question. When's that gonna happen? Sorry. When should we be looking out for this to be happening with the budget?
Yeah,
Stuff.
I believe the mayor presents his budget in either September or October. I usually submit my budget in August, and then it's a month or two before he does his big presentation. If you did a Google search, you could see when it came out last year. And then the common council, all of their meetings are posted on the website.
That's something I would definitely be game for doing. We could sort of draft something. I mean, even if it's just like pie in the sky dreams, we could go and, as the Complete Streets Advisory Council, present a list of things we'd love to see add to the budget. Yeah, I would be happy to do that and represent everyone at this. We could kind of draft something.
We'd stand,
What's
Yeah.
so we would stand behind.
that? Yeah, and especially if nobody goes to these, no sort of there's no input sort of from outside the system. It could have a real impact because it would sort of see.
Yeah, no, it always kind of amazes me, the things that the Kingston public does not do. They don't lobby as hard as many other citizenries do for what they want.
And honestly, it's hard to sort of be aware of things that are happening, even if you really want to be. Stuff just kind of flies by, or a project comes along and you say, "Oh, I'd love to put in some feedback." Oh, that happened
And
6 months ago.
yeah.
All these,
I think the mayor's newsletter is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So if
It's
you
a
don't
very
get it,
important
sign
way
up
to
for
stay.
it. He'll publish the budget process, he'll publish, any transportation public meeting will be in that newsletter.
No, I was very happy when I found out early on about that when I first moved here. I agree. Okay, so B is the school zone program. Ella, your name is attached, if you wanted to talk about that, but I think everyone's probably seen the news, that's some exciting stuff happening around that.
You're talking about the camp.
Yes, you're breaking up a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, so yeah. Well, this is I attached the letter that John Grospelin wrote last year that was basically about school zone, making some recommendation for school zones. And that's actually what got me to add the agenda item about the job posting, because we were told because of the lack of staffing, that was why nothing had been, nothing had been done here. And also, after Christine Tarasco was killed last winter, the mayor promised that there would be a 15-mile-an-hour school zone put in there, and it hasn't been done. So, so just kind of, maybe now that the position has been filled, we can kind of bring this back around and bring it back to their attention. That was something we want them to work on.
Yeah. Well, the thinking, I think, also is that school zones would need to be standardized for this to be implemented. But now I've seen that now that the bill to do school zone speeding cameras has been passed by the Assembly and the Senate, and I think we're now just waiting for the governor's signature, that there are only 3 of them. I was personally thinking there would be more.
But I think this is a good opportunity to kind of get on this letter, rephrase it, and ask like a follow-up to the engineers, like, hey, now that we have access to the cameras, do you have a plan for this? We wrote you a year ago.
Right.
Well, what's the city's strategy for that?
Right. No, I mean, I think we have a number of sort of legs to stand on. We have the fact that this bill is now, gone to the governor, and the fact that the position has been filled. Sort of, ask for an update on this. Where are we now with this request that we made? We can definitely review that letter, and update it.
And also we could kind of tie in the Washington Avenue. Is that the we could tie in that Maurice Washington Avenue letter as well.
Yeah, the work that's being done on Washington Avenue. Is there
Molina? Sorry, Molina.
We didn't write a letter for that.
Yes, I think.
But there's an outside group. I know there's an outside group advocating.
Yes. Yep. I forget what her name is, but I should. She emailed me the letter, so I can forward that to you.
Sorry, Ella, is it Marie Miller?
Say it again.
Marie Miller?
Yeah, Marie Miller. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the plan is in terms of like actual getting the law signed. I think then once it's signed by her, then I think it has to then go back. I think the Common Council has to vote again or something. Did I read that? I don't know. I think it's, there's quite a process going on before these things are ever installed, I think. But from what I read, it sounds like everyone in the Common Council is on the same page, which is exciting. I think I read Bob and Councilwoman Shout's comments. They both sounded, they're positive. So so that's good news, I think. It's exciting. Does anybody know off the top of their head which 3 schools are the school zone? Yeah, I don't know either.
But that could be a question.
Yeah, another question, sure. It's just funny because, I mean, there's so many schools around Kingston in my mind, just 3 of them, I guess maybe the 3 problem ones, or what they're planning to do. I mean, they're probably not gonna do the high school because it would make Broadway a speed zone, which would.
Yeah, I think the age.
Cool.
Part of that.
That makes
I
sense.
think it's all around the elementary school.
Yeah. All right, either way, I think, yeah, I think updating the letter is a good move, and then we can kind of move forward from there. All right, so the next one is e-bike storage in buildings. Ellen, do you want
Okay.
to talk about that?
Yeah, so yeah, as you can see, I add a lot, a lot of things to the
Yeah.
agenda. So this came up because I was reading in the Daily Freeman that there was a building on Prince Street that someone is constructing, and they went to the planning board. And at that meeting, Susan Cahill said, basically, you can't have e-bike charging inside the building. You have to. They have to be outside. And then the developer said, okay, well, it said they would consider banning e-bikes. And this also happened in March. There was a building on Broadway. The same thing happened. And I think that is a problem because from everything I've read, I've been reading up on this, and from everything I've read, really the problem is not e-bikes, it's batteries. So these lithium ion batteries, which are becoming more and more prevalent and ubiquitous, they are more prone to fires. And I think it's come a lot to attention as well, because in New York City, there's a lot of Uber Eats, delivery people who are using e-bikes and e-scooters, and they're getting very, they don't make much money, so they're buying these very inexpensive e-bikes that have batteries that are very not good quality, and sometimes even trying to fix them themselves, and so creating very unsafe situations. So there is a UL certification that is basically, so one thing I just want to propose as an idea is, instead of banning e-bikes or saying we can't have e-bikes inside, requiring UL certification. And maybe, I'm not a fire safety expert, so this would be a great thing to get the fire chief in on, and public safety, and, get everyone kind of looped in on, but rather than just flat out banning the e-bikes. And also, one other thing is that there is federal legislation. I don't know what the status is, but there is federal legislation about that, is being proposed, that would require UL standards on e-mobility batteries. So, any thoughts on that?
Are you saying they're banning e-bikes, or they don't want charging stations inside the building? I'm not really quite sure how they could ban e-bikes, because I don't think they can. I can understand why they wouldn't want the charging stations in their buildings, given the things that were happening. And even if it is UL approved, it would become a matter of who's going to enforce that particular bike is UL approved if it was an inside charging station. So to me, if the charging station is outside, it's kind of like with bike lockup. Okay, so you've got the charging station outside. I don't want to leave my bike out there because I'm afraid it's going to walk off on its own or get stolen. So that's why I bring it inside. So I'm just trying, like I said, I'm not against e-bike. I'm trying to understand what you're kind of asking them to do. If it's that the new batteries, the new lithium ion batteries, should have the UL testing, that's great. But it's like, who's going to enforce that?
Well, it sounds like, I mean, to me, yeah, I would like it to get more information, but it sounds like they're for these new things, they're saying they're not requiring, it's not like the city's banning it or forcing them to ban it, but I think they're telling them you need to ban e-bikes in their buildings. And as far as the charging, I have an e-bike actually, and it's really literally just something you plug straight into the wall like a normal charger. So, so people can actually take the battery. So people could, just leave their bike outside. The problem is also these bikes cost like $1,000 or more. So you don't really want to be leaving your bike outside overnight. Yeah.
May I chime in? I don't know if Ellie got a chance to see it. In one of my emails, I said that the planner reached out asking for examples of policy for her to consider. So it sounds to me like she is reviewing all the same information that you have here and is trying to develop a policy for the planning board about how to direct people who are applying for permits, to build, what guidance they should be giving around e-bike batteries. So she already has New York City's, if you can find a policy that addresses the issue but doesn't ban them,
Right.
Please send it to me or to her directly, whatever you prefer.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think
we just left only because you broke up as you said, yeah, it was very dry.
Well, I guess it's kind of like, how would you enforce not having e-bikes in your building? How would you, I don't know, maybe there's some kind of certificate people can show.
Well, she mentioned that I guess there's sometimes now these battery charging boxes that are like encased in concrete that are certified to be fire safe. So if you're building a complex of 10 or more units, maybe the planning board could require that they include a charging case as part of their facility.
Or some dedicated charging
So
station.
it's that kind of guidance that you could suggest to the planning board of how to.
Right, yeah.
Because I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that the fire chief is sort of saying anything that causes a fire has to be said no to, right?
Exactly.
So we want to come up with solutions for how it can be done so that people still have access to this form of transportation.
There are computers that catch fire, so.
One thing I wanted to add to that I think Ella had touched on before is I don't have like the statistics on this, but this might be one of those things like to look into as far as kind of trying to make our point here, is that I don't actually know how much of an issue non-UL certified batteries are in an area like this, because like Ella was touching on, one of the main things that I've seen that the reason why people would do that in the first place is because the UL approved lithium ion batteries only have generally like a 60-mile capacity, which if you're in Manhattan and you're doing Uber Eats by e-bike, that's not much capacity. Around here, I don't know exactly how many people are actually needing like 100-mile capacity, so I don't know how much of a problem that actually is. That could be another thing to look into on that.
If you can find that education, I'm happy to send that to the planning director.
Yeah, I can look into that too then.
I think she called me definitely in a research state. She was definitely looking for information.
Okay.
And it seems like a good point, is like, how much of an issue is this even here? Yes.
Right.
The more that we can find to back up these points, could kind of, but.
Sorry, that's my dog.
But the suggestion of having a safe charging station or a designated charging station if you're building a new building or reconstruction renovation with units above, say, 4 or 5 or whatever, might also be one way of just handling the situation, Chris.
I used to have an electric cargo bike. if I lived in an apartment building, I would prefer to not carry it up steps. It's a heavy brick. So if you had it, if the city required units to build that, that's to me seems like it could be a
good idea.
even fireside.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, also, sorry, before we move, it's kind of ridiculous because if you leave your bike outside, when you bring the battery aside to charge it, it's still gonna catch fire, so it's not the bike the problem. it's not enforceable.
No, that's what I mean, who's gonna enforce it?
Yeah.
It's a strange sort of like moment where this is an issue because it's just like, there's so many things that can catch fire in someone's house or apartment.
Except for that it's burning down apartment buildings in New York City, and they keep talking about most of the fires they've been having, which have been seriously deadly, have been traced back to lithium ion batteries.
Okay,
I mean, that's really been it. There was, I think, at least a month or two ago, but they have the statistics in New York about, and it could be the number of bikes that are all being charged, but there was, in one particular case, recently uptown, the woman had said that one of the tenants in the building had a lithium ion bike, and she had asked him, don't charge it in the building, or bring it in the building for charging, and he did, and the building burned down.
EJ put in the chat a link to an article and said regarding New York City's e-bike storage law. So I'll put this link in the agenda notes.
We're almost at the time.
yeah, do we, I can just quickly do, I mean, I guess maybe not to skip over Ella's, level of stress for bikes and pets. Is there something we can quickly say about that, Ella?
Yeah, I think it's just, we can kind of come back to that. I don't think it's an urgent idea, but yeah, well, that's fine if we come back to that next time.
Okay, just quickly about the summer education campaign, a council member had reached out to Emily, who then forwarded it to me about the idea of doing an education campaign similar to Be a Road Hero.
To be clear, she didn't say I offered you.
Right,
I just want to be
but-
neutral on that because there was some criticism.
Yeah, because she apparently wasn't on the council when Be a Road Hero was unveiled, and so she just has some concerns about apparently young adults riding golf carts around to go to stores, which isn't a thing I've ever seen, but apparently in her, yeah?
Oh, yeah, especially in the hills.
Wow, okay, so apparently it's a thing maybe more uptown than downtown. I guess maybe the golf cart motors couldn't handle our hills downtown. But anyway, so she was concerned about this. And apparently the county is doing a road safety campaign this summer, right? Is that?
I believe right now there's a request for proposals this
Oh,
weekend. So I think right now it's like a planning process.
All right.
I don't think it's ready to roll out.
Right.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. There's multiple things happening.
Okay,
Common Council reached out to you about the city doing something.
right.
You're right. Oh, I forgot to bring it. The county executive is doing sort of a street safety campaign that mentioned sort of police enforcement,
Hmm.
and they mentioned education, but the information that we received didn't actually talk about what the educational component would be. So if I find out more, I'll let you know on that. The police chief and the mayor are participating in their kickoff meeting for that, but I don't have any other updates.
Do we know when that is, the kickoff?
I don't have that.
Okay.
on the tip of my tongue.
That's fine.
Then thirdly, Ulster County Transportation Council, I think, is the author of a request for proposals for it's the Governor's Council on Traffic Safety is sponsoring a request for proposals for an education campaign. So that is probably something that's much further down.
Yeah, but it does seem like there are a couple of things kind of brewing
Yeah.
related to education campaigns. So I don't know if it would be necessary to sort of bring back Be a Road Hero. And I mean, because wouldn't that have to be a sort of grant that we would have to, I mean, it would cost something, presumably, even though we have everything.
No, so I know that there was criticism of Be a Road Hero, but so I was a project manager for it, and I did create it in a way that, because I am a former graphic designer, I got all of the working files, and we asked them to make templates for us, so that if you all say, we wanna do a campaign on bicyclists stop at stop signs, I don't think that's what you should say, but if you did, I have those files,
that's a
I can
major
put that
concern
in
for us.
there, and we can put it out. we can ask someone to put it in the mayor's newsletter, for example, so I
We
think.
can even, what I mean, you could like pop a word, be like, be a summer road hero or something, to be like, hey, it's warm weather, like,
Yeah,
watch out for pedestrians and bikes or something, I don't.
I probably don't have the ability to do a full campaign, but,
Right, right.
you know, that was part of that project was that it would live beyond it, that was our hope.
Okay, I mean, that could be something that, that could be nice to sort of have with just sort of active months, yeah.
What's unclear about when Sarah reached out to you is what the next step will be.
Right, yeah.
You may wanna reach back out and say, great, Sarah, what should we do next?
Sure. And then, yeah, my letter, I think everyone saw it, that I was hoping to send, there's one thing I wanted to add to it, but, I incorporated Gustavo's idea in sort of a different way, but I think I kind of got gist of it. And so then, I can work with you, Emily, about maybe passing on to the mayor, with a request that, if he feels, if he has any interest, possibly try and send it on to the governor, so I think the power of this thing is, with her at this point, so. And then do you want to quickly do your, announcements? And wrap it up?
My
A few minutes over.
Yeah, mine is super fast, as you probably all know. I have a traffic safety skills rodeo on Saturday, please come on out, from 1 to 4 p.m. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I think Ella's gonna come for a little bit, yeah.
Then the UCAT route optimization study, if you have not already done so, please fill it out. They want people who ride UCAT all the time, who've never rode UCAT. They just want everyone's thoughts on it, I think is the gist of that, right? And then, motion to adjourn,
A motion to go.
Oh,
you can do a
private
executive
session? Yeah,
If you
executive session.
wanna do that still.
if yeah, thank you so much for coming. Yeah.
And I'm gonna stop live streaming.